Welcome to the World Issues Radio Show. I am your host, William. Without further ado, let us get into the problems that plague the land today. Reports just came in about Liberia's current predicament caused by the Ebola outbreak. Liberia's defense minister, Mr. Samakai, has been sent to the UN to ask for help dealing with the Ebola virus. The Ebola virus is devouring everything in its path, says Mr. Samakai, who worries about Liberia's lack of infrastructure in the healthcare department and her ability to combat the rampaging virus. The virus is a threat to Liberia's national existence, Mr. Samakai asserts once again to the UN. The issue is beyond a simple addition of health personnel and material can solve. What will happen to this epidemic? Only time can tell. Moving on to our second story, we have our reporter online here to give you an in-depth report on the well-being of our planet.
In the environmental news, Amazon rainforest destruction in Brazil rises yet again. The rate of destruction has not gone down for 2 consecutive years. Over 6,000 square kilometers of rainforest were cleared over the course of 12 months.
That is terrible, but how will this affect the world?
The Amazon rainforest is a vital part of our planet's biosphere. Without the Amazon taking up carbon dioxide, global greenhouse gas levels would soar. In addition to the loss of our biosphere, deforestation is also a loss of habitat for many organisms.
What will happen to the world if the CO2 levels cannot be regulated by the Amazons?
I'm sure everyone is already aware that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases trap heat in our atmosphere, theoretically leading to higher global temperatures. A few degrees of change in global temperatures would send climate systems into pandemonium. Weather will be more extreme, making survival harder for all life on Earth. The Earth's biosphere, including rainforests and oceans, has been taking in about half of the human carbon dioxide emissions. To keep the atmosphere's carbon dioxide levels stable, we not only have to cut our emissions, but also stop the destruction of rainforests.
Cut our emissions? How do we do that?
One of humanity's most significant efforts to cut carbon dioxide emissions is the international agreement Kyoto Protocol. The protocol was adopted in 1997, committing many nations to cutting greenhouse gas emissions. Under the agreement, industrialized nations pledged to cut their yearly emissions of carbon as measured in greenhouse gases.
Was it effective? I don't think I have heard of the Kyoto Protocol before.
The participating nations cut on average 5.2% of greenhouse gas emissions. Over the years, it equates to a 29% cut in emissions that would have occurred. However, the United States of America and China churned out more than enough extra greenhouse gas to erase all the reductions made by other countries.
So, China and the US made up for all the emissions that never happened?
Well, they are the major players, but they are not the only ones responsible.
So, what can the world do as a whole to bring down the emissions?
To really cut global greenhouse gas levels, all nations will need to participate in legally binding emission cuts. In addition to reducing greenhouse emissions, we also need to keep our biosphere healthy, which means no deforestation. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Now, in other news related to Japan,
Speaking of Kyoto Protocol, recently Japan nuclear regulator approved to restart nuclear reactor. It had reached to new standard to prevent the Fukushima disaster from happening. Fukushima disaster was caused by massive earthquake and tsunami damaged the reactor. Currently, all Japan's 48 reactors are stopped, but 2 of the reactors are secure and pushing to restart. Before the Fukushima disaster, the reactor supplied 40% of Japan's power. Currently, they are importing coal and gas to generate power, while the reactors are down. Japan will be pushing to activate all nuclear reactors as fast as they could for the people living in Japan.
And that is it for today's news. We will see you next time on World Issues Radio Show. Thank you.